Good morning again. Thanks for being here. This is another Abatement Academy webinar. The subject for this is fiscal year 2026 annual reporting for cities and counties. If you're with a state agency award, you're welcome to listen in. There will be a separate webinar for state agencies. I believe is later into September before that reporting period opens up. But for now, we're going to be focused on annual reporting for cities and counties. So our agenda for today, we'll start with introductions. We'll look at the some updates to the reporting time frame for the FY26 direct distributions, cadence of changing the cadence of when those reports come in to make things a little bit easier and more aligned. We'll look at the updates and the deadlines for the 26 annual reports for related to any awards, as well as those reporting requirements, some instructions for initiating the annual reports, and then walk through the different sections. And then finally, we'll pop open the portal and actually walk through one briefly. And then we'll have an opportunity for questions as well. If you want to do questions, please use the raise hand feature or the chat feature. And if you think of one, go ahead and feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll determine whether or not we answer it live now or if we answer it live after after the slide deck is done. So today's presenters, I am Charlie Linticum, Director of Operations for the Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority. And if you're not familiar with me in my position, it means I'm over all things grants from concept to closeout, anything and everything in between, including applications and reporting. And I also oversee our team of local government opioid settlement liaisons that are based in the field across the Commonwealth that provide technical assistance to cities and counties. Also have Sharika Bridges, our Senior Manager of Grants Operations, who we have to thank for this lovely slide deck at the bulk of this presentation. And then Matt Terrell, our Senior Business Analyst, who's going to do the walkthrough in the portal. So one thing that was announced at the Virginia Recovery Conference, as well as in the most recent news update email, is that for those of you that have been through the annual reporting process before, there previously was a separate carry forward true-up reporting process that had to be completed separately and before the annual report. We are happy to announce that the system has been updated, and one of the major points for doing this webinar is we have combined the carry forward true-up process with the annual report. So we've eliminated that separate carry forward true-up process completely. So don't expect to see that report by itself again. And like I said, that stuff's been integrated into the annual report, all with this, with the due date of October 1st. Sorry, I got back. There was one more point there. I hadn't got yes. Oh, sorry, I did cover that. Thank you. Go ahead, Shrek. Next slide. All right. So direct distribution reports. So previously, so direct distribution reports are required of all cities and counties participating in an OAA award, and or if you have opted in to be an OAA gold standard city and county, city or county. Previously, those reports have usually been due to come in at the same time applications for the upcoming fiscal year have been due. Like most recently, they were due April 16th, 26, to meet that reporting requirement for the FY27 applications that were just awarded by our grants committee back in June. However, when those are submitted, they're an incomplete picture of a fiscal year. So to help find some efficiencies in the application process, as well as getting a better picture and making it easier, hopefully, I think, for you all to report, as well as us to reconcile and update the lookup tool, we're moving that direct distribution report due date to be October 1st, which means you'll end up submitting two this year, but going forward, it will only be due October 1st each year. So to mention, it's required of all cities and counties participating in an OAA award, as well as gold standard cities and counties, Participating Internet Way A award includes for the whether if it's an individual award, that's obvious. If it's the cooperative partnership, if you're the fiscal agent and if you're a partner, all of those localities have to submit the direct distribution report as a requirement for participation. However, only one report is required for a city or county. You don't have to do you don't have to do a direct distribution report for every award that you have, and one for being participating and one for being goal set. One report, period, for the year will cover it. And because we're changing the cadence, we would have that expect that report to be reflective of the most recently completed fiscal year. So October 1st of this year should be a full picture of FY26. So July 1, 25 through June 30, 26, the projects and expenditures that were supported for the direct distributions. So this will give us more time to get things updated before the next fiscal year's applications are due, and we can reconcile any issues that may exist between our records and your all's, and we can, with the goal of trying to have an updated lookup tool that incorporates your non-OAA direct distribution projects by the beginning of the calendar year. So direct distribution reports still can be completed in one of two ways: as a standalone report. If you are a city or a county and you do not have an FY26 individual distribution annual report to complete, you have to do the standalone. If you do have an individual distribution annual report, which would be because you had an FY26 individual distribution award, there is a tab in there that would allow you to complete the report as part of that one. So either way, and even if you have an individual distribution annual report, and if you'd rather do a standalone to get it done and out of the way to cover for everything, that's fine too. So as mentioned, the revised due dates allows this to fulfill the reporting requirements for cities and counties submitting applications for the upcoming fiscal year. So it's clarity as to what that means. This October 1st, 2026 due date will reflect FY26 direct distribution activity, and that will meet the reporting requirement for fiscal year 28 applications that'll be due in mid-February to early March. We'll have those dates and stuff out soon. So you will not have to be submitting another one along with those applications for the upcoming fiscal year. From here, I'm going to turn it over to Sharika to walk through the regular award annual reports.
Thank you, Charlie. Good morning, everyone. So today we're going to start a little bit about talking about the updates and the deadline for FY26 annual reports. So we would like to report that the FY26 annual reports are now available in the OAA grants portal for cities and counties that have FY 2026 awards. We want to reiterate that the reporting period is for the time frame of July 1st of 2025 through June 30th of 2026. Those reports will be due and must be submitted in the OAA's grants portal by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, October 1st. You must complete a separate FY26 annual report for each FY26 awarded project that your city or county had. And that includes those projects that may have not been renewed for FY 2027. So you may have not requested a renewal for the most recent award cycle, but you had an active FY 2026 award, so you will still be required to submit an annual report. For fiscal year 2026 cooperative partnership awarded projects, only the grant's fiscal agent is required to complete and submit the annual report, and that report will suffice for the entire partnership. So if there are any partner cities or counties or any project subrecipients that have information that will be reported on via the annual report, those organizations and localities should work with the grant's fiscal agent to provide that information. And that can be anything, including the status of the project, any performance measures that are being tracked and reported, any funds that have been expended, any objectives, and kind of where the timeline for those objectives may have landed up for fiscal year 2026. Also, for projects that have subrecipients who are basically implementing or kind of leading that project, we want to reiterate that any reported expenditures, et cetera, should be those of the fiscal agent, city, or county. So you want to make sure, even if the sub is receiving all or part of the funds, the sub should report their expenses for FY26 to the fiscal agent. But in terms of what is reported for the annual report for the financial reporting component, ensure that you're reporting on the fiscal agent, city, or county's expenses. Also, we want to just kindly remind that new FY 2027 awarded projects, so those awards that were recently announced for June, around June, if you did not have an active FY 26 award, so if your project has not recently been approved for renewal, you're not required to submit an FY 2026 annual report during this cycle. So for all of those new FY 2027 awarded projects, you'll be reporting after FY 27. So that will be October of 2027. And then we have a few recommendations to kind of help ensure this process runs a little smoothly for you and make sure you have all the information that you need. We recommend starting this reporting process early. As you're working on your annual report, we recommend starting early just in case there's any portal issues or any requests for clarification that you may need regarding how to complete the report or the different sections. Start early so that you have time to kind of make sure that we're combating those issues early. If you run into any portal issues while you're working on it, please reach out to anyone on our team. We'll be happy to assist you and make sure that's resolved. We also want to reiterate this annual report is both programmatic and financial in nature. So we do recommend collaborating and working with your finance or your budget office, especially in regards to your FY26 reporting of expenditures and the carry forward process that's embedded into this annual report. Again, we just want to kindly reiterate that any reported FY26 expenses should consist of expenses that took place between July 1st of 2025 and June 30th of 2026 only. Anything after June 30th of 2026 is considered an FY27 expense. So we do want to just make sure we stress those things. Moving on to some of the annual reporting requirements. So again, we want to reiterate, despite the fact that the FY26 annual report is due October 1st, we do want to stress that your reported expenses should be for the period of July 1st of 2025 through June 30th of 2026. We also want to just kindly remind you all that the annual reporting process is required for all OAA grant awards, and it's required at the end of the award year. The report helps us, the OAA, have updates on the grant status at the end of the performance year or also fiscal year for cities and counties. And again, it includes both a programmatic and financial reporting component. All FY 2026 annual reports should be signed by an authorized official for the fiscal agent, city or county. So that could be the city or county deputy head or executive or anyone that has designated signature authority. And those reports must be e-signed and submitted by 11:59 p.m. on Thursday, October 1st. After your annual report is completed and submitted to the OAA, our staff will review each annual report and will assess the project's compliance with the OAA grant award terms and conditions for the respective grants, as well as the code. And we use three different compliance levels in our review. And so those are compliant, meaning all of the requirements have been fulfilled for the annual report. Substantially compliant, meaning there are some minor issues that our team will be happy to work with the city or county to try to combat. And then non-compliant, meaning there's some corrective actions that we may need to evaluate and explore going forward. Also, we want to stress based on your fiscal year 2026 award package, there is a annual reporting section that's outlined in section 4 of the award terms and conditions. So we did want to kind of highlight if you needed to go back and refresh yourself with the award package and the annual reporting requirement. We wanted to ensure stressing where that is located. And then again, as you're working on completing and submitting your annual report, if you have any questions, if you need any clarifications from a member of our team, use the communications tab while you're in the portal and you can contact your respective OAA local government liaison and ask your questions. And you would basically use that communications tab. You would type in the @ symbol and then type their name to tag them into your communications. We will receive an email and someone on our team will be happy to promptly respond to you. So now we want to talk a little bit about initiating the FY 2026 annual report. So you will do that by logging into the OAA's grants portal. You will select the grants management tab on the left-hand side of your screen, and then you'll scroll down on that page to find individual distribution 2026 or cooperative partnership 2026. And that's based on your FY 2026 awards. So you'll select the respective type of annual report you want to generate, and then you'll select start annual reporting. And then a pop-up box will appear and allow you to select the appropriate project name so that you can generate the annual report. Once that is done, there'll be another start annual reporting option that you'll select. And then the annual report will generate, and the first page you'll see will be the instructions page. We do recommend as you're generating your annual report drafts, please read the instructions page in its entirety before selecting next, and that'll basically help you understand what type of information you'll be reporting on. So if you need to collaborate with any other departments or offices within your respective locality, you'll know kind of what your ask is for this report. So again, looking at how to initiate this annual report, you'll see outlined in purple on the left-hand side, the Grants Management tab. Once you get to that Grants Management tab, you'll select either Individual Grant 2026 or Cooperative Partnership Grant 2026 and select the Start Annual Reporting button beside the respective type of annual report you're looking to generate. And then again, this is the instructions page. Once the annual report draft is generated, review this information so that you know kind of if you're collaborating across your city or county, you'll know what you're asking for and what information you may need. This is also effective if you have any subrecipients or for cooperative partnerships, any partner localities, you'll know kind of what you're asking for from those organizations as well. So the next section is discussing the different components of the FY 2026 annual report. So this report contains 13 required sections or pages for individual distribution awards and 12 required section or pages for cooperative partnership awards. So the first section is related to the narrative report. Then for individual distribution projects, there will be a section to update your direct distribution report, and that's only for individual distribution annual reports. Then the next section is broken up for the budget, and it's broken up into reporting year information and current and out year information. So the first budget page is the report year personnel page. This is where you'll see what was awarded for FY 26. You'll report on your FY 26 final expenses, and then it will generate a carry forward available amount that you will be able to see based on your personnel budget for FY 26. The same for report year operating and capital, and then report year funding sources. You'll also be able to report your expenses, by funding source. And so you'll be able to see your funding source carry forward available balance as well. Then you move into the current and out year personnel, operating and capital and funding sources pages. Those are where you'll be able to request your updated carry forward amounts if applicable, as well as revise or modify your FY27 budget based on if you have any carry forward available, and let us know kind of how you'll be utilizing those carry forward funds by budget item. Then you'll get into a budget summary page, which will have an outline of all of your report year data as well as your current and out year data. Then you'll have an opportunity to report on your FY26 achieved performance measures, report on any revised timelines for your project objectives, and then the reference information page is where you will upload the required general ledger attachment for your city or county for FY26, as well as have an opportunity to upload any additional supporting documentation that you would like to share with us as a part of the FY26 report. And then the final page is related to the signature page, and that is where you will send the annual report for e-signature to your city or county executive or anyone that has designated signature authority. You would send that for e-signature, and that process will then be sent to the signatory via email, but we'll kind of cover some of that later. So moving to the narrative report. So on this page, at the top, the project name will automatically populate. You will have to provide a narrative update on the status of the project at the end of FY26, as well as indicate any successes or challenges experienced during the fiscal year. If there were any challenges reported, you'll also need to explain what actions your city or county has taken to address those challenges. There's also a section to provide a narrative update on the project's impact on the city or county's community. You'll also be able to provide a narrative update on the plans for the project's sustainability. Then you'll have a section to provide a narrative update regarding the status of your FY26 expenses for the project. You'll be able to note any discrepancies between the FY26 carry forward amount that was approved through the most recent approvals back in June, as well as compared to your final FY26 carry forward amounts that will be generated as a part of this annual report. And then the final section on this page will ask for the reported final carry forward amounts, explain what generated those remaining amounts, as well as how you intend to use those unspent funds. The second part of this page will include a reconciliation table. And on that reconciliation table, it shows the FY26 total OAA awarded amount at the top. Then you will have your total FY26 projected expenses, and that information is populated from your FY27 renewal application. Then you will have your total OAA approved carry forward amount or remaining balance. Again, that's calculated from the FY27 renewal application. And then the final two rows will include your total OAA final expenses. Those are based on the information that's reported through this annual report. And then the last item will show is the total OAA final carry forward amount or your final remaining balance. And that also will be updated based on the information you enter in this annual report. So when you first get to this narrative page, those totals at the bottom may not have been updated yet, but they will update as you go through the budget pages of the report. Moving on to direct distribution information. Again, this is for individual distribution annual reports only. So you'll have an opportunity to update any amounts received by fiscal year, and you'll do that by selecting the checkbox for the respective fiscal year and selecting the edit button. You'll have the opportunity to do the same for any amounts expended or allocated by fiscal year. And then you will have the opportunity to update the non-OAA project information. So if you've spent any direct distribution funds on non-OAA projects, you'll have an opportunity to update that section as well. Moving on to the budget report year personnel page. So on this page, as outlined, you will only have to enter your final expenses by your specific personnel lines. So if you don't have personnel for this page, personnel approved for your FY26 award, then you would just say the next and continue to the next section. But if you do have personnel, whether it's salary or part-time wage positions, those will appear here. You'll see how much was awarded for each position. You'll see the projected expenses that were reported as a part of the FY27 renewal process. And then you'll be able to enter your final expenses, which will populate the remaining balance totals. Once you've done that, you will see at the bottom of the page there is a grand total. So there, once you've updated your final expenses on this page, you'll see the total report year final personnel expenses, and then you'll see the total report year remaining balance based on your final expenses for personnel line items. Then you have the report your operating and capital page, and this is the same setup as the previous page where you will only be required to indicate your final expense amounts for your operating and capital line items. And once you've indicated that information at the bottom, you'll see your totals where you will have your total report year final operating and capital expenses in row one. Row two will have your total report year remaining balance, and that's for your operating and capital expenses. And then the bottom row will have the total report year remaining balance, which would be inclusive of what you've entered on the previous page as well as this page combined. Then you'll get to the report year funding sources page. And this is where you do kind of the same reporting of your final expenditures, but only this is related to the different funding sources. So if you have any non-OAA matching funds, whether that's direct distribution or some other non-OAA funding source that was pledged as a match to the FY26 project, that will appear at the top of the screen, and you will be able to report any final expenses for that particular funding source. And then you will have your OAA funding sources kind of as shown as on the bottom of this image here. And you'll be able to report your final expenses from the OAA funding sources and indicating your final expenses for both of these non-OAA and OAA funding sources will generate the remaining balances. The second half of this page, you'll be able to see a reconciliation of the information that you've reported related to your personnel final expenses and your operating and or capital final expenses. So you'll see the breakdown under the expenses section, and you want to make sure the totals listed here under this expense section reconciles to the totals listed above for the non-OA and OAA funding sources. One quick tip in terms of making sure everything is reconciled. This page includes a reconciliation table at the bottom and a quick check to make sure everything reconciles based on your reporting of final expenses for your expenses, your line item expenses and expense categories compared to your funding sources is to make sure those different amounts reconcile to zero as outlined or circled here on the screen. Then you move into the current year and out year personnel page. On this page, based on the information that you've entered into the previous three budget sections, you'll see at the top of this page, there is, and it's outlined in green, a total carry forward available amount and a total carry forward requested amount. So that total carry forward available amount was generated based on the information that you entered into the budget current year, the budget previous year information. So here you want to make sure that you're not requesting carry forward that is higher than the carry forward available amount. And you can modify your carry forward requested amount by entering in information in the blue outline box under carry forward requests. And so you can change a carry forward request based on that particular column. You can also modify if you're looking to use any of your carry forward funds to support any personnel positions. Then you can also modify your personnel budget by either if you want to edit a line, you can click the checkbox and then click edit, or you can add new and indicate your budget for that particular line for FY27. And so you would do that under FY27 only. Same setup for the current and out year personnel, the bottom of this page. So you'll see a reconciliation here, and the reconciliation will show the total salary carry forward and upcoming and renewal year personnel expense requests. And you'll also see your total carry forward and up year slash renewal year personnel expense requests for salary and hourly slash wage positions. So those two totals outlined in green, those two totals added together will total your total FY27 personnel budget. Also moving to current and out year operating capital. So it's the same setup. At the top of this page, you'll see your carry forward available amount and your carry forward requested amount. You can modify your carry forward request amount based on the green square outline, and you would just type that in. If you also need to modify your FY27 budget, you'll select the checkbox beside the expense line and select edit to indicate how much you're allocating for that line for FY27. If you need to add a line for FY27, you would click the add new option, and you would only enter in your budget for that particular line for FY27. And the same as for any capital expenses that you may have. And then at the bottom of that page, you will see your carry forward and upcoming slash renewal year operating expense requests. So your FY27 operating expense requests, as well as your FY27, which is inclusive of carry forward and any new funds for capital expenses, and those will be listed at the bottom of the page. And then moving to the current year and out year funding sources page. So again, at the top of this screen, it's your funding sources are non-OAA and OAA. And so at this screen, you can see the carry forward available amounts. You can modify your carry forward request amounts, and then you can request any upcoming new funds in terms of the FY27 budget. At the bottom of this page, you will see the breakdown from the previous expense pages. You want to make sure that reconciles to your funding sources information listed above on this page. And then at the bottom, the very bottom of the page, you'll see a funding request reconciliation chart. And just a quick tip also to make sure everything is reconciled, your difference amount should be 0 across. Moving on to performance measure reporting. So on this page, you will see your FY26 awarded performance measure amounts. You'll see the amounts that you reported year to date when you were completing the renewal application, and you will have an opportunity to indicate your final FY26 amounts achieved by individual performance measures on this page. There is also a comment section beside each performance measure that will allow you to include any comments. So you may provide information such as any specific methodologies that you're using to track the measures that are reported, or you can also explain any discrepancies between the awarded and the final actual amounts, or between the year to date and the final actual amounts. There's also a separate text box at the bottom of this page where you can provide additional comments or any other supplemental information related to your actual performance measures reported. And then just as a resource for you, so this slide deck will be available, but as a resource, we've hyperlinked to an OAA previously issued guidance document related to performance measure reporting, and then also linked to the webinar recording for that particular webinar that we held. On the objectives timeline page, you will have an opportunity to report any actual or revised start dates based on your project objectives, as well as your actual or revised completion date. And then one thing to highlight on this particular page, you will have to provide a comment for each objective and your revised start and completion dates. So we also want to just reiterate that for FY26, that's the time period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th of 2026. So be sure that you're taking that into account as you're indicating your revised start and completion dates for your objectives. Again, you will be required to provide a comment beside each objective and your revised or actual start and completion dates. The portal will not allow you to move past this page unless a comment is provided for each objective. And then there is a text box at the bottom of this page that will allow you to provide any additional information regarding your project's objectives and the revised timeline. On the reference information page, at the top of this page, you'll see your total OAA final expenditures for FY26. And then there will be a section for you to upload the detailed expenditure report of the required general ledger. So the general ledger should be generated from your city or county's financial system, and it should show each line item transaction for your OAA project. The ledger should also reconcile to your reported FY26 expenses that are going to be reported as a part of this annual report. You may also provide a spreadsheet or any type of additional document that you can upload that may help us while we're reviewing the annual report, and it may help explain or help us interpret the provided ledger. But that additional supplemental attachment does not substitute for the general ledger requirement. And we do want to stress failure to provide a copy of the general ledger for the FY26 project could and will most likely negatively impact the city or county's FY26 compliance status for the project. We also are happy to, if you have any questions about whether or not your ledger will suffice and meet our requirements, certainly feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to take a look at it and provide any type of feedback. We ask that you do that prior to the October 1st deadline. So as soon as you're able to do that, reach out to us if you have any questions. And one other note about the required ledger, if a partner city or county on a cooperative partnership award has spent funds for the project directly, so that's compared to sending the funds to the fiscal agent to manage. If those partner cities or counties have actually spent the funds themselves, then the fiscal agent needs to obtain a copy of the partner cities and counties ledger that also reflects those expenditures. We do know that's not a common scenario, but we also know that it does happen in certain situations. And so definitely reach out to us if you have any questions on that particular requirement. And then outside of the ledger requirement, you have the opportunity to attach any other supporting documentation that you wish to send as a part of the annual report for FY26. The last page is related to the signature page. So again, this is where you send the annual report to the city or county executive or their designee for e-signature. So the first thing we want to highlight on this page is you have to click the checkbox to confirm that the information is complete, accurate, and ready to be sent for e-signature. And that's based on the information outlined on this page. You also have the option in the red outline box. So if your city or county signatory has not previously e-signed OAA documents, you'll need to click the invite a new contact option, and you'll have to enter their contact information before clicking the send email button. If they have previously e-signed OAA documents, you're going to click the add existing contact option, and you'll select their name from the drop-down option before hitting the send email option. And then the city or county, again, the city or county executive, deputy, or their designee should e-sign the annual report. They do not have to be a registered portal user to e-sign or slash submit the report. The report e-signature process is completed through Adobe Acrobat Signature. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Give me just 1 second here to switch over to sharing my screen. Okay, you can see that all right? Okay. Um, so I am in our UAT environment and I'm logged in. I just happen to be under Spotsylvania County here. But this is the main dashboard. I will be doing an annual reporting application for the 2026 period for them for individual report. So I've already began it, but I'll just show you real quickly. If you go over here to the grants management section and you find 2026 OAA individual city and county, and then click start annual reporting, you can select the drop down and there's mine right there. It won't. So I'll go back to the dashboard real quick and I'll click resume. So once you start it, it'll show up here. Click save and next, and whatever you've done so far will be saved here. You can see here we have all of our instructions that you're welcome to read through. And then you'll see over here all of our pages that we'll be walking through. If at any point you do want to go back, you can, if I click next here, you can always click one of the above ones and it'll move back, but you can't go forward. You have to go forward by going next or save and next. So here's our narrative section. You're able to obviously expand these. I believe it's either 2,500 or 5,000 character limit for these. So please expand these as you need. For now, I will just here as I walk through it and answer these questions. And you can see here there are some values. These are just the defaulted values. So in 2026, I was awarded 10,000, and on here I had 5,000 in OAA projected expenditures. And it's just showing anything that I had submitted based on my 2026 renewal, or 2027 renewal, sorry, about what I had expended. So I'll click save and next. And there we go. So here's our direct distribution page. Anything you have entered previously should show up here. But if there's anything you would like to update, you can always check the box and click edit and update those lines. Or if you have a new response to this question down here at the bottom, you can always update that. Click save and next. For this particular application, I did not have any personnel, but here's where you would enter it. I didn't, so click save and next, and we'll look at the operating and capital. So I was awarded in 2026 10,000, and in my 2027 renewal, I had projected to spend 5,000 of each of those. So I need to update my final expenditures. So for this first one, I'm going to say I actually spent all of it. And you can see my carry forward available here updates as I type it in. And so now it's saying I have 0 carry forward available for this first item. And let's see, let's just leave this one as 0. I didn't actually spend any of that. So I have 10,000 carry forward available. Look down here at your totals, make sure everything looks good to you. So now I am going forward with having $10,000 in carry forward available on my expenditures. And here I am in the report year funding sources. And here's where I have to designate which funding source I spent that $10,000. I have a matching source here that I added, which I was awarded $10,000 out of that. And my IDIC, my individual, which is I was awarded $10,000 out of that. So I'm going to say, originally I had said 5,000 in each. I'm going to say I actually spent all of my matching source, which leaves me with $10,000 in carry forward available of individual funds. Go down here and take a look at it. My final expenditures by fund source match my final expenditures by my expenditure categories. I'm able to click Save and Next. Again, I don't have any personnel, but if I did want to do a one-time project and I was bringing somebody in, I could add new and just do a $10,000 there. But you can see I have $10,000 in carry forward available and nothing in carry forward requested. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip the personnel for now and take a look at my operating and capital. So I'm going to say, let's see, I have 2 items and I have $10,000 in carry forward available. I'm going to request it all in item 1. So now you can see that my carry forward requested has updated and it matches here. So as it stands, I am saying that I will need $10 for this item as well as my $10,000 here. And I will need another $10,000 for item 2. If this is going to, for some reason, there's a timing issue or something happened and there's taking the place of this here and I only need 20,000, and what I can do is check here, edit, and just remove that. So when we see this application, we'll know that this $10,000 in carry forward will be for item number 1, and then you are requesting $10,000 for item number 2. Oops, that. I'm going to change that back to 10,000. But go down here, total carry forward and upcoming renewal year operating expenditure request is 30,000. Click Save and Next. And here's where I have to designate my expenditures. So this is the default from what I said in my renewal. So I'm going to go ahead and update this. I have 0 carry forward available in my matching source. So obviously I need to update that to say 0. And then I will be requesting or stating that I am going to be providing $10,000 in a matching source here. There's 10,000 of my 30,000. And if I go down and look at my individual distribution, I have 10,000 available here. So I want to request all of that. So there's 20,000. Then I want to request another 10,000 there. So altogether, 10,000 for my matching source, 10,000 carry forward, and 10,000 in upcoming renewal amount. If I go down and look at this, look down at my difference line, and it is $0. So my total OAA funds requested, carry forward, and upcoming renewal year is the 20,000, the 10,000 in carry forward, and the new funds. So that all ties out. And I click Save and Next. And here is the budget summary. This is a read-only page that kind of ties everything together with current year and upcoming years. And if I click Save and Next, we'll go on to our performance measures. So here you can enter in your final actuals for your performance measures. You can update them as needed. And it'll tell you comments are required for all performance measures. I will put those in. And if you have any additional information, you can put it there. Save and Next, and I can update my objectives timeline with the actual or revised start date, an actual revised completion date, and any comments needed for that. Save and next, and I get to my reference information. Let me update my expenditure report, the file upload, and let's just do this. And done. You can see it's successfully uploaded there. If you need to do another one, you can obviously go right ahead. Done. And you can see that both of these are now in here. And I don't have any additional documentation to upload, so I will click Save and Next, which takes us to our signature page. Go ahead and read through all this. Click here to report that the information is complete, and enter the information for whoever will be signing it, and click Send. So real quick, I will go back to our narrative report, so I can just click this back here. And I wanted to show these been up, they should be updated there. We'll have to figure that one out. Yeah, and that is a quick walkthrough of the annual report.
Thank you, Matt,
Yes.
and thank you, Sharika. So, um, do have one question. Well, we had an early question that came through that's been answered in the chat, but I'll cover that anyway. I just want to know if the recording will be shared after the session. Yes, so the recording, the slide deck, an annual report guidance document, and an updated direct distribution reporting guidance document will all be made available in the next week or so. As we get the rest of them together and get everything published and out to you all, we'll also be on our website, and we will also do a news update newsletter that'll notify you all when they're available as well. We had another question which notes, so if we use the annual report to complete the direct distribution report, so that would be for individual distribution annual report, will it automatically fill in the direct distribution section in other annual reports, or will it need to be manually added to each award? I'll give that to Matt or Sharika.
It should go across all of your annual reports. It should update your direct distribution as a whole.
Yes. So even if you went to look at a standalone, it should reflect whatever the most recently updated version
Yep.
is. And any other questions, you can use the hand raise, you can use the Q&A feature, you can use the chat. Any of those will suffice. Go in once. Give it a minute in case anybody's typing anything. All right, not hearing anything. We appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, there'll be notifications when everything goes out. And also the city and county awards application cycle will open up on July 15th. We'll have updated timeline and guidance documents and everything posted out on the website along with the news blast announcement. So look forward to seeing that soon as well. Appreciate you all being here. And we'll see you next time.